Hello, hello, and welcome to the Making a Marketer podcast. I'm Megan Powers of Powers of Marketing, and my trusty sidekick is Miss Jen Larson. Hi, Jen. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm having a busy Friday.
This is our first live in 6 months. The
Dang.
last time, I think it was just me and Troy Sandage was our guest.
Yeah.
It just things got in the way. Hopefully, I'd like to get back on track. And season
Yeah.
8, we are now in season 8 of doing every other one live, like we used to do. So Fridays seem to be our preferred day to record. So hopefully, we will, um, be able to build an audience. Like, I don't know, once a month is kind of hard. But do you have any clients that do lives?
No, I don't have any client. That would be so much fun. Oh my gosh, I would eat that up so hard. That would be amazing.
All right. And so this is Friday, September 6th. If you're watching the replay or listening on the podcast, thank you very much. And if you're with us live, thank you for being here. We will try to stay on top of the comments. But more than anything, we want to get into welcoming our wonderful guest to the show, Miss Krissy Buck. Hi.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Hello. I don't remember the last time I went live. It may have been like 2020, honestly.
Oh my gosh.
Goodness.
It's like a lifetime ago.
I know.
The world has changed significantly.
Yes, it has.
100%. All right. Well, we are going to talk today about dark social, demystifying dark social. And for any of you watching or listening who have never even heard the term dark social, I think it conjures up thoughts of like black hat, cyber this, or, Vader thoughts. And so we're going to dig into that and talk about how to track it, because it's kind of a weird thing that with it being, not on the front end of what the world is seeing. And so we'll dig into all that. But I'm going to read Krissy's bio. Krissy Buck is a passionate advocate for building inclusive online and in-person communities. As program director of ShockStarter, a student-led digital marketing agency, and an educator at WSU Tech, Krissy equips students with the knowledge and tools to use digital marketing to forge meaningful connections for themselves and their brands. With experience as chief community officer at Quick, a Wichita-based tech startup, Krissy expanded their user base to 77 countries in just 10 months. In addition to these roles, Krissy serves as vice chair of Digital Wichita, a nonprofit dedicated to educating the local marketing and business community on the latest digital marketing trends at their yearly conference, Social Media Day Wichita.
Woo, woo,
awesome sauce.
woo.
Love me a good event. You know this. All right. So, Jen, let's get started.
Oh my gosh, it's time. So like Megan alluded to, there's probably a lot of folks out there, and I'm sure some of our listeners are unfamiliar with the term dark social, because it does sound, what did you say? Like Darth-esque?
Yeah.
So we're going to dive into the basics to start things off. Do you mind explaining what dark social actually is and why it's become such a critical concept in digital marketing?
Yes. So dark social is this idea that hiding away from marketers, hiding away from being tracked on social media or the web. And so people, especially Gen Z, are finding ways, these pockets of the internet to kind of hide away from us. So in a nutshell, that's what dark social is.
So it's kind of like when I find this funny Halloween meme or whatever, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's July, but I got to send this to Krissy because I need to get a reaction from her, because I know she's thinking the same thing. So that's kind of like what we're alluding to with dark social, that kind of mannerism.
Yeah, so sharing it in DMs. I even heard about this community of friends that had found this elusive YouTube video that nobody really watched. And their social media was the comments of this YouTube video. And they didn't tell anybody outside of this group that that's where they were gathering together online. I mean, that can still be tracked, right? But it's not on Facebook, so grandma can see it. It's not over on X or even Instagram. It was intentionally hidden from big pockets of people,
Gotcha.
basically. Yeah.
Yeah, that
Mhm.
makes sense. I think a lot of us are practicing dark social and not even realizing it a lot of the times. I know we plan an entire event through dark social. We plan Social Media Day Wichita via Discord. Works.
Yes.
It's amazing.
Yes, it is amazing. And there's other platforms like
Mhm.
Discord. I mean, a lot of people have used Slack. And there's some new ones. And of course, like I can't remember the names of them right now, but so Discord, a lot of people relate that to the gamer community. And
Mhm.
it's really an excellent platform because there's video and there's audio. And so gamers can interact with one another while they're, playing, um, and then have different channels and have discussions about things that they enjoy together. Um, but I mean, it really is like for the gamer community, and we know in marketing, we build out these customer avatars, and the avatar of Discord is the teenage male gamer, right? So there's other platforms out there that are similar to Discord that you can tell that they're definitely going after the female population.
Awesome. Well,
Yeah,
that's it. Yeah, that's a great explanation in a nutshell for sure. Good start.
awesome.
Awesome sauce. Okay, so as we said, it's the traffic in dark social is hidden from our traditional analytics tools. So, what do you think are some of the biggest challenges that brands face in trying to track the activity that goes on there?
Well, they are tracking, they're tracking engagement and likes and comments, right? Um, and actually, Jen sent this to me. So the head of Instagram, he recently shared that really what you want to track on Instagram, specifically Reels, is shares, because dark
Um,
social is moving away from um, communities of people reacting on the front end of the platform, and you're finding more engagement on the back end of the platform in the direct messages. So, it's a huge deal right now. This is how people are communicating, is by sending reels to one another, or TikToks. Um, like it's time to go to Disney.
yeah.
That's how me and my husband talk to each other. We're sending each other reels about Disney World. It's time to check out. Let's go to Disney World. This is how people are communicating, and so really, you want to track the shares on your reels because they're being shared through dark social. Um, but also, there's direct traffic to your website, and that's when somebody just types in. I always use, because it's easy, the example of Nike.com, right? So you could type in Nike.com, and the marketer, when they're looking at their analytics, they see, oh, we got some direct traffic to Nike.com, but it doesn't tell them how they found out about the brand. And
Right.
so being able to track consumer behavior and see, okay, where were they, where did they first generate from? So, maybe it was a conversation over at Facebook. Um, maybe it was an affiliate marketer. And so having some kind of code on your URLs so that you can track that customer through their buying journey is so important, especially now with dark social, because you don't know where they're coming from anymore.
Yeah, it's kind of a wild thing. I love I was speaking of UTMs, I was kind of astonished, and I know that I've mentioned this to you before, but during at Social Media Day this year, during your talk, you talked about this very topic, and you had people raise their hands to say how many people are using UTMs, and I think there were maybe 2 or 3 of us that raised our hands. Like, I was astonished at how few people are actually tracking this stuff. Like, this is how you tell a story about your content.
Yeah, dark social is not a new concept. I think
No.
Chris Penn has a YouTube video out that talks about dark social, and I've used it in my curriculum for like 3 or 4 semesters now. I
Yeah.
mean, it is not a new concept at all. Jessica Phillips talked about it at
Mhm.
her event in Lima, I feel like years ago.
Years ago, for sure.
Years ago. So this is not a new thing. So Jen, I was as surprised as you were when I asked who's using UTM codes, and like 10% of our audience, and we sold out that event, by the way.
Yeah, we sure
Yeah, we
did.
did. Like 10% of people raised their hands. And they at least knew of a UTM code. I should have asked, okay, how many of you are actually using them? And you know, when we got feedback, people were like, this stuff's over my head. If you're a marketer, oh my gosh, it's so important to know. I mean, how do you measure your ROI if you don't know how people are coming to your site?
Exactly. What are you saying to the decision makers? Like, how are you backing up anything if you're not tracking that stuff? I don't get it.
Yes,
Well,
absolutely.
and for someone who might not know what a UTM code is, can you just explain that a little bit in more detail?
Yeah, so a UTM code is a piece of code that goes at the end of your URL. So let's go back to the Nike.com example. Let's say it's Nike.com and the 2024 Pegasus, which is a running shoe. And it's the black and white model. We'll go with that one. So, you know, it's Nike.com/Pegasus/black-white. So, you know, Joe shares this with his friend, Tim. That's an easy name to remember. You know, like in Messenger or in a text message, he's like, hey, these are the running shoes I was talking about this morning on our run. If you can put a code at the end of it, so maybe Joe pulled it, you know, from a Facebook ad or something like that, and then shared it with Tim, that code, the marketer can go in and specify the platform. So maybe it's Facebook, the campaign, you know, 2024 running shoes, and the medium, and so on and so forth, that you can get pretty detailed in that UTM code. And then when Tim clicks on that and he goes through the buying journey and he purchases the shoe, and you see that you've had a successful conversion, you can see, okay, the original traffic came from that Facebook ad. That's where that came from. So a lot of people are already using UTM codes as consumers. So if you click on a link and you see in the URL bar a bunch of code behind the URL, that's probably a UTM code that a very smart marketer has put on there so that they can measure their work.
And you could attach one even to anything, right? Like to like a QR code. So that'll tell you like how many people, even if you're just like a restaurant owner, right? You could and you could see how many people are using your menu. You know how many people are accessing that. Super smart, super smart. Okay, I want to welcome Chris Stone to the audience. Thanks for popping in, Chris. We appreciate you. He is the live guy. So of all people, Chris and Jim would be two that I would expect to pop in. Okay, so moving on to Jen. Yeah, we have it's funny. We had a UTM code coming later, and I just deleted it. So then I derailed myself on our run a show. So
it happens. It's fine.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go back to Gen Z for a minute, because we talked a little bit about them, brushed by the topic. How do you think dark social has transformed the way Gen Z interacts with brands, particularly given their preference for private, one-on-one messaging apps?
Yeah, so I mean, it's the old saying that nobody trusts us as brands. They trust the people that talk about us. And so, you know, in Gen Z, they crave privacy. This is the generation that was born with not just the internet in the house, but an iPhone. And so they watch their parents, you know, have a smartphone in their hand from day one.
Yeah.
Their life is online. I read a statistic that They learn one new thing every day on the internet. And so this generation, especially, they crave like traditional values. They are the generation that relates most to the boomer generation, actually. Um, and it's because they want that slower pace of life, and they crave that privacy, right? Like they don't want to be out on the big servers like Facebook and X. And so as brands, we have to respect that that's how that they want to communicate. And so I think going back to the Instagram example and how successful Reels are, using Reels to entertain the Gen Z audience while also educating them and selling to them is how we connect with them as brands. This generation is also really engaged with podcasts.
Yeah.
And right, podcasts are a private medium. They don't have to log in to Facebook to listen to a podcast necessarily. By the way, I don't even know why I'm using Facebook as an example, because they are not on Facebook.
No, they're not.
Exactly.
When
Definitely not.
they're not on Facebook. When they come to my program, they're the social media marketing and management class. It's like on the syllabus, these are the supplies you'll need. Facebook account, like it's on the syllabus. You have to have one in this class. But yeah, I mean, they are choosing these communication channels, this way of consuming that feels more private, where, they're not engaging with large groups of people online.
Well, and the tube, right? YouTube, they're all about YouTube. It's really interesting. There are also this generation that they didn't get onto social media willingly. Their parents put them there.
Yeah.
And so they may have some feels about it because of that as well.
Yeah.
That would be an interesting research thing to do, to find out like kind of how they engage with social the way that they do, if it's a reflection on their parents and how they were put out there for the world before they had a choice.
Same, child actors too. It'd be interesting to compare the two in some kind of study. That would be, child of an influencer, always online.
Actually, you bring that up, Megan. A couple of years ago, I went to a high school conference, and it really wasn't my demographic of students, and I was starting to get bored. So I stepped out from behind my booth and started polling these students wearing pajama pants and, smelling musty. How do you talk to your friends online? And, they're like, what? What, boomer? How do you talk to your friends online? Like, what social media channels do you use? And they're like, I don't use social media. And I was like, so how do you talk to your friends? Like Discord? No, which I was really surprised about.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, what do you use? Like the text app? And they were like, I remember this one boy, it was like a light bulb went off. Oh yeah, Snapchat. Like that's how they talk to each other.
Yeah.
And, Snapchat has that and it's always been this way for teenagers. It has that privacy level, right? Like it disappears after a while. Mom and dad aren't going to see it. And so it feels safe and it feels private. And and they do weird things. Like I remember when my daughter was in high school, she would take a picture of her double chin and then type something on it and then send it to her friends. And I was always like, what are you doing? I'm texting.
Wait, so they don't consider Snapchat social media? Snapchat's social, isn't it?
Yes, it is social. You're absolutely right. But they see it as a texting app. For them, it's not social media. It's a text app. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So, all right. So we're going to do we normally don't do a brain break on our lives, but we're going to do a quick one. And it's kind of funny. So it's usually something to do with the season or whatever. And so this is it. Hot take: pumpkin spice is overrated. Discuss.
Never, ever. I'm drinking pumpkin spice right now, actually. Never, ever, ever. You know what? I'm like Barbara Mandrell. I was pumpkin spice before pumpkin spice was cool.
Yeah,
I have always enjoyed pumpkin spice. And so, I mean, it's a vibe.
it is
It's an,
vibe.
Okay.
It's the best
yeah,
vibe. It's such a good
it's
I knew
vibe.
not a
you were both were gonna.
trend.
You both are like you are the epitome of fall, the two of you. So I knew
Yeah.
this was gonna be this would be fun. So if it's a vibe, why don't they sell it year round? Why is it got to be only a fall thing?
No,
Because they're hateful.
nostalgia.
Well,
Is that
we have a
I
different
feel like
take
it
on
needs
that.
to be kept a treat. Like this
okay?
time of year, like this is when these flavors start coming out and these smells start coming out. It reminds you of this very special, sacred, football-y time of year that's cozy and there's soups and oh my gosh, last night was amazing. Candles lit, pumpkin pillows everywhere. I made the best soup ever and our guest Andy came over and brought pumpkin spiced cookies. I was mind blown and there are no more cookies. The cookies are gone. So
Okay.
just so you
All right.
know.
All right. Fair. Okay. I had a feeling that's how that was going to go. So thank you for
Yeah.
indulging me. Also, just a hot tip. Have you ever made chili with a can of pumpkin in it?
No, I'm not.
Pumpkin
No.
chili,
I'm willing to try it.
delicious. Highly
Okay.
recommend.
Noted.
All right, moving on to the next half, Jen.
To the next half. Okay, let's talk tools. What tools or techniques would you recommend for marketers to kind of better understand flow of traffic from dark social outside of like traditional analytics?
Um, yeah. So, I mean, first and foremost, in your toolkit, you've got to have Google Tag Manager on
Mhm.
your website. You got to have Google Analytics hooked up, and you got to be using those UTM codes. And Google has a free UTM code builder. I mean, it is super simple. I'm also, a huge fan of AgoraPulse, and AgoraPulse has a UTM code builder within their platform. Chalk
Yes.
Starter, we have AgoraPulse, and the students, that's what they use to you know to schedule content for their clients. So it's a great tool and super easy to use. Okay, so you have those. Then there's a lot of communication channels. So there's the platforms, there's DMs, there's groups, Discord, um, Telegram. But I
Yeah.
heard the CEO just got arrested. I'm not sure. I can't keep up
Oh.
with all the news anymore.
Yeah, there's a lot of it.
Yeah, there's so much. There is yeah, there's like all those like platforms like Discord that you can communicate on. Um yeah, just respecting the boundaries of privacy to an extent, because we still have to reach people, right? And we have to track it. Um but don't expect to reach a 14-year-old on Facebook. Like,
Never. Yeah.
no, it's not going to happen. And especially not in the feed. It's not going to happen.
Yep.
Yeah.
So to go back to your what you said before about sharing things with people, I have a friend who all day she has things she sees on Instagram reels that she wants to talk to her boyfriend about, but so she sends them, she shares them with him, and then when they go to bed they like watch the reels that she shared with him. So it's
Yeah.
you said that and I was like, oh yeah, that's a thing. And we always share things with each other too. So yeah, if you were like losing that, that you would definitely want to be able to track that. I mean, obviously I know about tracking shares, but I hadn't thought that as being the biggest piece of this. So, all right. So on that note,
Yeah.
given that a large portion of dark social involves private sharing, what do you think, what content formats do you think work best for encouraging that shareability in these spaces?
Well, there's a couple of things that are happening right now. There's the creator economy. And so, there's a lot more creators out there creating content. So brands, they should align as of right now. with content creators, influencers, affiliate marketers, whatever you want to call them, to create content. And then, those content pillars, they look like education and entertainment. I feel like social media has become more of an entertaining platform rather than an information platform. You have 1 second to capture somebody's attention. I'm 45 years old, almost 46, and I will scroll past even my own friends' content if it doesn't grab my attention, as soon as it hits my screen, and then I have to go back and I have to like it to, to give them some love. But even, a Gen Xer like me, my attention span has shortened quite a bit.
Yep.
And so, creating content that is engaging from the moment it hits your screen, and then working with influencers, because these, and it's not just the younger generations, like all generations, they are losing faith in brands. That's why we rely so heavily on Amazon reviews. We don't buy anything unless we read those dang reviews.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, aligning yourself with those content creators and using that short form video content like TikTok Reels. Yes, all of those TikToks and Reels. Yeah.
So Chris Stone says, Krissy Buck is the voice of a new generation. I'm so behind on the UTM thing. Sincerely, Boomer.
Oh my goodness.
I love it. All right. So wait, and go ahead.
No, I was just going to say I am a Gen Xer. So, I am the new generation. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Same. And you're about to turn a new age. Does that mean you're a Virgo?
No,
not.
So this is not my thing. Zodiac signs are not my thing. And so there's a name for it, but my birthday is on November 22nd. And so depending on what publication, it's in, I'm either a Scorpio or a Sagittarius.
I see.
But there's like a name for it. There's a name for somebody who
Scorpigitarius.
Cusp. I just asked that my birthday is a week from today. So
yeah, it
is. It's birthday month. All right. Perfect. All right, Jen.
Yeah. Okay. So we're going to start winding this baby up. It's been such a fun conversation, but where do you see the future of dark social heading, especially in terms of tracking and attribution and of course, engagement with the Gen Z audience?
Well, I think, those youngins, those alphas that are making us all feel old, even the Gen Zs, they're like, my college students that are just freshly out of high school, they're like, I don't know what they're saying.
No, they have their own slang. I just read an article about it today. I'm like, I don't know.
I don't know what that means. What is Sigma? I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
I do like to use those words and make them cringe, though. It's a lot of fun.
Yes.
It's so much fun. I don't know that it's going to be really, regulated by our audiences. I think that it's going to be regulated by the government. So, there's GDPR in the EU, and then right before COVID, California enacted their Privacy Act.
Yeah.
And other states were kind of talking about following suit, and then, we had a pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
Now with I don't know about where you all live, Chris and Georgia and Megan in California, but it feels like we are being hit with cyber attacks constantly. Like the city of Wichita was hit. One of our hospitals was hit. And it's happening all the time. And so I think the government is going to kind of lock it down, for the sake of citizens, basically. And so, we need to be thinking innovatively as marketers. How are we going to reach the younger generation, like the alphas? And then also, how are we going to reach people if these privacy acts do go into effect? And how are we going to track our work? So thinking ahead, how are we going to do those two things? As far as the younger generations, I heard this probably, I don't know, 2019, 2018 or so, that these alphas that are now like in the 5th grade, this is when Pokemon Go was really popular, and they were all, taking their parents' phones, and they were getting Pokemons on their phone using AR. And I heard somebody talk about this, and I don't remember who it was, but they talked about, think about when they're older, how are you going to reach them? As a young child, they really believed that there was this world outside of their window in the car, right? But you could
Yeah.
only access it through the phone. And so also thinking, how do they interact with technology and these communication channels? How are they communicating and then meeting them there? So is it VR? Is it AR? Is it, all the things, AI, whatever? How are they communicating? What's important to them? What are their values? And that's what we need to be looking at.
Got to always be growing. That's for sure.
Yes.
Always.
Yep.
All right, amazing. So we have a question, and it's a new day, new season, and so we have a new question that we're going to have as our standing question. So this one is: what is the most amazing lesson that you've learned in the past year that surprised you?
Yeah, you sent me this, and I'm like, what is it? I feel like I'm learning something new every day. I think personally for me, and maybe, Gen Z is rubbing off on me, but I have this desire to slow down and just live intentionally. So sitting on my porch with Jen.
So much fun.
So much
Neighbors.
fun.
She lives 2 blocks away now. I
I know.
Neighbors. Yeah. Or walking to get ice cream or gardening, like these things that are offline. Like that's really, that's what my soul is craving right now, I think. And then also just treating people well and being an advocate for them. Yeah, somebody important to me, that advocated for me years ago, died just a few days ago.
I'm sorry.
And he was very important to the Wichita community, and we all loved him so much. And the reason I'm so heartbroken is because how much he meant to me, and I don't know that I would, be in the position that I am now if it wasn't for his advocacy 5 years ago. Yeah. So treat people well.
That's obviously the golden rule is super, super important. And that offline thing is interesting too, because it hit me. We had a conversation once, I don't know if you remember this, where you were like, you said something about the pressure to post the perfect picture. And I said, you can take the picture and not post it.
Yeah.
Right. Like I'm taking as many pictures as I used to. But I'm just not posting as much. And guess what? That means I just have like all these awesome pictures of the things that I've done. And if you've got an iPhone, it reminds you, I guess Androids do the same thing, but it reminds you, and you're like, you get like this widget I'm like, oh, that was really fun. And then I add it to my favorites. My favorites folder is going to be like totally worthless.
They're all many favorite moments.
Yeah, totally. But also it makes videos for you. So delete the pictures that are not good, because then it'll end up in a video and it'll be like the outlier in that video. And you're like, well, I don't want to share this video or save it because it's got that picture in there. Anyway, I digress. All right. Well, this has been a really great conversation. Thank you, Krissy, Professor Buck, for, truly, she's a teacher. You also and she's, in it with her students, keeping up. You may not be managing social media, but obviously you have to keep on top of it, and all the latest trends and everything that's important, and that so you can teach your students and learn from them as well, right?
Yes. Yes. Every day. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for being with us. Thank you, Miss Jen, as always. And welcome to season 8.
Yes.
Our by the time this gets posted, we will have posted our first 2 episodes, which are our reunion shows. And so, Krissy, you'll be invited back again next August
Yes.
for a little reunion if we continue that tradition. And so I want to thank everyone for watching. If you were with us live, watching the replay, listening on the podcast, we appreciate you more than you know. All right, y'all.
Yeah,
This has
thanks,
been another
guys.
episode. Thanks. This has been another episode of the Making a Marketer podcast, and we will catch you next time.